these heavy metals, they affect our hormones. They affect our ability to lose weight. They affect our thyroid, which sets our metabolism. They affect your gut and your ability to absorb food. They affect your liver and its ability to digest food, absorb it, and metabolize your hormones. And so there's many, many, many systems that heavy metals and chemicals affect that will interfere in weight loss.
All right, so let's say you're doing everything right. You're eating clean, you're working out, you're tracking your blood sugar, you're doing your morning time, you're managing stress, you're super consistent, and the scale still won't move. You've been doing this for a while and you're like, what's going on? What if the reason that so many women aren't able to lose weight despite doing everything right, it's a toxicity problem? We're living in the most chemically saturated time in human history. The average person carries hundreds of chemicals in their body. Heavy metals like mercury, arsenic, lead, they're quietly interfering with thyroid function, insulin regulation, cortisol production, liver health, and even the size and number of fat cells. And here's the scary part. Your body may actually be using the fat to protect you. So today I am sitting down with Dr. Wendy Myers. She's a naturopathic doctor and founder of MyersDetox.com. She is going to unpack a conversation that literally nutrition certifications, doctors, they don't even touch. So let's get going. So welcome, diet disruptors. Today we have Dr. Wendy Myers. She's a naturopathic doctor, and we are talking all about with her today detoxing from heavy metals. She is the founder of MyersDetox.com. She's an internationally recognized expert on heavy metal detox. We've never had anybody on the show talk about this before, so I'm super excited about it. We're going to talk about anti-aging, biogenetics. She is a sought-after speaker, host of the top 50 ranking podcast called Myers Detox Podcast, and #1 best-selling author. Her mission is to educate and inspire the globe about biogenetics and detoxing from our increasingly toxic world. With Dr. Myers, we are going to combat disease. We're going to increase longevity, all the things that I love to talk about. So, Wendy, I'm so excited that you're here. Thank you for joining us. We have so much to talk about.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah. And side note, I think it's so great that you and I both picked up our families and moved to Mexico for a little while. That is a very rare, common thing that you and I share.
Yeah,
So I think that's very cool.
I moved down there. I loved it. I only came back because my daughter wanted to go to high school in the United States. But yeah, I loved
kids
in Mexico.
Mine, the same thing, because they were in middle school when we went, and they wanted to get back to, I had promised them they could have high school for 4 years in one place. So that was my commitment to them. But let's talk about why we are actually here. We're going to talk about toxins that actually are preventing weight loss. We're going to talk about how to detox them. We have so much, but this is a very specific field to be in. So let's talk first about how you even got here.
Yeah, well, it was because I wasn't losing weight.
Okay.
So, I was about 37, about a year out from my pregnancy, and I just wasn't losing weight like I used to. And I was also having hormone issues, and I went to my doctor and said, figure out what's wrong with me there, because I just felt intuitively something was off.
Let me guess, they didn't have an answer?
Yeah, well, no, they just found I had low hormones. I had the hormone levels of a menopausal woman at 37. And that I had adrenal fatigue and low cortisol and just all these different things. And it just didn't add up to me because I had such a healthy diet.
So that was what I was going to ask you. You were pretty healthy.
Yeah.
Am I right?
I was very healthy. And I was doing all of the things. I was sleeping. I just couldn't figure out what was going on. I was taking all these amazing supplements. I was working out every day and I was checking all the boxes. So I knew something was off. And then I started searching on the internet, what causes adrenal fatigue. And I just happened upon this website that talked about heavy metals and how heavy metals interfere in your hormones and your stress hormones, your adrenals. And I thought, I've heard of that, but I thought of it as, mercury feeling. So I did have those. But when you're healthy, you just don't think that those toxins apply to you.
Well, it's interesting that you say that because a lot of people that I'll work with, I said, we got to get to base camp first, right? Like we got to get that level of foundation because like you knew there was something else going on. But when we've got so many different factors and we're eating fast food every day or processed food every day, I mean, it's just so hard to be able to figure it out. We got to get to this place and then we can really hear our body speak to us. So it seems like that's what happened to
Yeah,
you.
and I thought, how do I have the hormone levels of a menopausal woman at 37? Like, it just what causes that? And so, when I did a heavy metals test, and lo and behold, I had high heavy metals, mercury, arsenic. I had cesium, thallium, uranium. I was like, where did I get all these things? And so I just went down this rabbit hole. And come to find out, these heavy metals, they affect our hormones. They affect our ability to lose weight. They affect our thyroid, which sets our metabolism. They affect your gut and your ability to absorb food. They affect your liver and its ability to digest food, absorb it, and metabolize your hormones. And so there's many, many, many systems that heavy metals and chemicals affect that will interfere. And weight loss also causes toxins are the number one cause of diabetes. It's the number one cause. And so
Yeah.
people just,
Because it's throwing off your whole blood sugar, all your glucose. Like your body can't actually get into balance. I love that you talk about that because you know what I talk about when it comes to blood sugar and food and all of those things. And it's like, this is a missing piece of the equation that we're not talking about.
yes. And I think people spend so much time blaming themselves, much like I did, that they don't have the willpower or they just eat less and exercise more and blah, 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 blah. And, you need to detox to fix your metabolism. You have to address the underlying root cause. And many times people, are very toxic. They store their fat soluble toxins in their fat and the body won't let it go because it needs that as a storage receptacle.
It's actually protecting you, which is amazing, but it's not what we want. And it's so interesting too, because I have probably 6 or 7 different nutrition and wellness certifications, women's health, everything. And this is not something that gets brought up in these certifications. And so I'm part of all these groups, right? And they're all like, well, my client can't lose weight and all of this stuff. And nobody brings this up as one of the players that we need to consider.
Yeah, absolutely. And, for me, because I was doing everything right. I was working out 68 hours a week and eating, like going to bed hungry. And I thought if I did this in my 20s, I would be an Olympic athlete, and it's just the needle wasn't moving. And that has happened for many of my clients. They're waking up and they're working out and they're doing the no carb and they're doing all kinds of stuff. And it isn't moving. And this is why. I mean, yeah, you've got to get your basics, your blood sugar regulated and things like that. But for many people, arsenic and iron toxicity and other heavy metals interfere in your pancreas's ability to regulate your blood sugar. And arsenic is one of the number one causes. And that's found in conventional eggs, conventional chickens. They're not organic. It's found in our water supply and many other different places. And so for me, I'm very passionate about this. I've studied this for the last 15 years to really drive the point home that if you, not only for weight loss, but for your overall health and longevity, because these heavy metals they poison your mitochondria, they cause Alzheimer's and dementia, they cause heart disease. Like lead is one of the number one cause of fatal heart attacks. It's just people do, and this is all in the research. I have 1,000 articles on my website, all based in research that you can look up yourself. And so I think there's a gravity to this where these heavy metals and chemicals like herbicides and pesticides and glyphosate and these other things are obesogenic chemicals. So they cause your stem cells to turn into fat cells. They cause your fat cells to grow larger than they normally would. And they just really these heavy metals and chemicals set the stage for people to be obese. So and you can see a direct correlation between the increase in use of pesticides and the increase in obesity rates. It's a direct correlation.
Yes. You'll know the exact numbers on this, but I have looked at like how many people do you think, and especially because this is the people that you work with, have these heavy metals in their system? Would you
Oh,
say everybody?
everyone, yes. There's one exception. There are some people that won the genetic detox lottery, where those people that can drink and smoke until they're 100 and they're
Oh,
fine,
right.
or people that are really bad alcoholics that can drink, 10 bottles of alcohol a day and they still can, show up to work. Those people are able to detox much better than the average person. So it's like a bell curve. You have people that are super toxic, can't detox. Those are the very, very sick ones, typically debilitated, chronic fatigue, can't work. Have multiple complex chronic illness, and to the other normal people, and then the people that can do whatever they want to do. They can drink or smoke and live to 100. And so there's a handful of, small percentage of people that may not be very toxic in any way that meaningful affects their health. But for the majority of people, the toxins are affecting you, and they're causing brain fog, they're causing fatigue, they're causing weight gain or resistant weight loss. And they're causing all these kind of mild symptoms that they're never going to pinpoint, and their doctor is not ever going to pinpoint to heavy metals and chemicals.
Because that brings me to the fact that your doctors aren't going to pinpoint this is because we're not testing for this kind of stuff. When you said you tested, and this was like 15 years ago, right?
Yeah.
Like that wasn't, I mean, we're hearing more, we hear more and more and more now about glyphosate and all of the things that are going on in our foods, but this conversation wasn't happening 15 years ago at all. So where does one go now to be able to even test for seeing what their levels are?
Well, I really like hair mineral analysis. It's called HTMA. It's a really good, non-invasive, inexpensive test. Gives you a lot of information about your heavy metals. The tests for chemicals are not so amazing, but the test that I took was $1,000 for chemicals and metals. I forget the name of it off the top of my head. But the tests are out there. That's at like mdlifespan.com, where you can do that chemical test. But the thing is, everyone has chemicals. I mean, it's just everybody has those. The World Health Organization has done tests that found that people had on average 500 chemicals in their body. So, you just need to get detoxing, and we'll get into that and how to do that.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But
because at some point, knowing that like everybody has this stuff going on, there's like, we can test for it to see what levels are and things like that. But at the end of the day, this is likely something that everybody needs to address and be aware of.
Yes.
So what are some of those simple detox tips that people could begin doing today to start to mitigate this issue?
One of the easiest things and most effective is taking minerals. Very, very simple, because minerals, they occupy the same binding sites in the body as heavy metals. And so when the body doesn't have zinc to repair arteries, it will use cadmium, which is, causes more cancers than all the other heavy metals combined. So if it doesn't have the preferred mineral, it'll use a metal, to prop up the body and repair something in some way.
That is what's so fascinating about our body, right? Like we get so frustrated with our bodies sometimes, especially as women. But if we could see what's going on behind the scenes of our body working so hard to try to keep us alive and living. And it's just so interesting to hear you talk about if your body doesn't have those, it's got to do some other things to try to still figure it out.
Yeah, if it doesn't have the premium building materials,
Right.
It'll use the crappy ones. It's use whatever it has to scrap everything together and repair things. So minerals, taking every day, all day long, I'm taking minerals. So different forms of magnesium, calcium, zinc, copper, potassium, trace minerals. I put sea salt in all of my water. That's got 100 trace minerals, because, if you're not only for detoxification, but if you don't have minerals, your body is just not going to work well. Like, the minerals are the spark plugs of the body that are needed for all of our enzymatic processes. But for detoxification, great to take them. I take selenium and lithium and other nutrients as well, minerals as well. Then you can take detox supplements, like you can take binders. Like I have a product called CitraCleanse. It's a grapefruit citrus pectin, and that will just absorb toxins. It kind of works like a little sponge. It's a fiber, and it'll absorb, and kind of like a catcher's mitt, it'll catch on to different toxins and take them out of your body. And especially, those are really effective. Like say if you drink alcohol, or you go eat at a fast food restaurant or something, you can take some charcoal and it will absorb those toxins. They use that in hospitals.
Food poisoning. My father-in-law had food poisoning, and he just took the charcoal, and it was like it sucked it all,
Yeah.
sucked it all away. It was really incredible.
Yeah. Activated charcoal is very effective.
Yeah. So, okay. So when we're thinking about these minerals and stuff, and I know that I really want to hear about like what a really effective protocol would be, but you're making me think about hydration products like electrolytes, right? Because that's what most people think about when they're thinking about minerals, because they hear that electrolytes have them in there. What is your thinking around like a packaged electrolyte versus minerals that are either separate or however you're, taking them?
I'm not a fan of those. I mean, they're usually like sodium, potassium, and maybe a few
Right.
other things. And,
It's a
we
whole
need,
lot of garbage sometimes in there.
yeah, we need far more than that. And usually they're very expensive. Sea salt is really inexpensive. So, just save your money and just put sea salt in your drink, and then just drink, juice, like orange juice, tons of sodium, potassium. I drink juices all the time, even though they have sugar in them. But they're also in small amounts can be extremely nutritive. Like I drink apple juice, grape juice for your liver. I drink pomegranate juice to clear fats out of the arteries. I drink orange juice because it's super rich in potassium and other minerals. And so these can be very nourishing to your body, even though technically they have sugar. You just in modest amounts with a meal.
Yeah, that's so interesting. Okay, so what would be like a typical person? And let me, before I even go there with the protocol, you're just making me realize like you could go and get tested, right? And for sure, and I'm not saying anybody shouldn't, but it's like even if you got tested one time, if we're not figuring this out ongoing because we're constantly being inundated with toxins, then it's not like we're going to be able to do something once and then feel like, oh, look, I got all the toxins out. We're going to be battling this all the time. It's like I live on the beach and like I can't just sweep the sand and think it's not going to all come right back.
Yeah, exactly. We live in a very toxic world. We're exposed to these heavy metals in the air, food, and water. It doesn't matter how vigilant you are with your diet, eating organic in your home, buying all non-toxic products. It's in the air. The air is the number one way that we get a lot of toxins. So, I do what I can. I don't stress myself out too much about it. But, you do want to have a sensible detox plan. And I can illustrate what that
Yeah.
looks
So
like.
let's talk about what that would look like, because we need simple, we need sensible, we need something that's sustainable. And I think that's the biggest thing. If you can't do this, it's like fad diets, I say all the time. Is this something you can do sustainably, and we got to make sure that if we're implementing something, it's something that's not overly expensive and just too complicated. So what do you got for us,
So
Wendy?
most effective thing you could do is infrared saunas. And so yeah.
You're speaking my language.
Yes. Yeah. And you can do a regular sauna at your gym that you can't really stay in them that long. But you want to stay in minimum 20 minutes. That's really hard to do in a traditional Finnish or Swedish sauna that's just heat. It's very hard to do. So an infrared sauna uses infrared rays and it kind of, heats your tissues up and not the ambient air. And so those are about 140, maybe a little bit more. And so those you can stay in for an hour, and so there's different.
Yeah, I do mine every day.
Yeah,
Every day. I have a sunlight in sauna, infrared. It's just fabulous.
Yeah, I have a sunlighten as well. And some people say do 20, 30 minutes a day. Other people say 60 to 90 minutes a couple times a week. And then, there's a great, the Ron L. Hubbard protocol. That was actually created by Dan Root, who is a medical doctor that detoxed firefighters, 9/11 responders, policemen who have, extreme toxin exposures. And so he's got a great book called Get Detoxinated. And so that's a really good guide to do a really super effective sauna protocol. It's very intense. It's like a 30-day sauna protocol where you're doing the sauna 75 minutes a day for like 30 days, but it works. It's medically proven. They've got tons of research behind it. So
awesome. We'll put that in the notes so people can go and grab that. I love that you talked about sauna as one of the first things. I call it a supplement because I say it's supplemental, and just like this is a supplemental practice, but it is so, so, so important. It's just like you can't do sauna and then go eat and do whatever you want, right? Like there's got to be this balance behind this, but I love that you brought that up right away.
Yeah, and the sauna is is great. I mean, there's a lot of research that shows that people that do it 5 days a week, they have something like a 50% reduction or 40% reduction in all-cause mortality.
Yes, and 65% reduction in Alzheimer's.
Yes, and like 50% reduction in heart attacks and just crazy numbers, crazy.
And it's some of our longest studies. Like, we don't have studies that go as long as some of these sauna studies go, especially this one in Sweden. Like, it's just absolutely insane.
Yeah, and part of it is the detox, part of it is the relaxing of your cardiovascular system. You're getting into parasympathetic and relaxing, you're lowering your blood pressure when you're doing it. It's a great treatment for blood pressure as well to you want to get off your meds.
And the best part is, like, you know how we all want easy and like we don't love, like, I don't love working out. I do work out every day, but right, I don't love it. This is like a spa.
It's a passive workout too.
Yes,
Burning
exactly.
calories. Yeah, that's
Exactly.
in there.
Exactly. Okay, so what else you got for us?
Yes, and so the next thing would be ionic foot baths. So I absolutely love these. These are super, and they're very easy to do because not everyone can do a sauna. Some people are too sick, they're too old, too young to do a sauna. And so a detox foot bath is a great way, very easy. You put your foot in some water, put some salt in it, turn it on, and the water turns green or brown or black. It's really disgusting. But over time, the water gets lighter and lighter and lighter as you kind of release your toxic load into the water.
So interesting. Okay, so what kind of salt are we putting in for this?
It's just a sea salt.
So the same kind of salt that you were talking about for your water.
Yeah, so it just conducts the electricity the ions that are being released into the water.
Okay, so interesting. I love that. These are so easy. These are tips that anybody can do. All right, let's keep going.
Yeah, and the ionic foot baths, it's amazing. You know, I did a webinar on it, and there's a chiropractor that's worked with 1,800 patients, and he just said it's unbelievable how it can, drain lymphatic fluid, how it can stop pain, how it can, people have like a wound that's not healing. Just there's so many different things when you start just unburdening the toxins or unburden the body of these different toxins that it just gets, the body is allowed to heal. The body is able to function better when it gets these roadblocks to functioning and healing out of the way. So
and so we're using sea salt in warm water. I
use warm water because it's more comfortable.
Okay. And is there any sort of like proportion to salt and water, or you just sprinkling it on?
No, you just have to follow the directions. Every foot bath is different, but there's the one that I use is the Ion Max 5. So that's at healthandmed.com. So that's the one that I use.
All right, I'm writing this down as you talk so we can have it in our notes. That's great. Okay.
It's healthandmed.com.
Okay, perfect. All right, and how often are people doing that? How often are you doing that, I should say?
You can do a foot bath every day if you want. Some people like to do just a few a week, but it's really interesting. I was doing them really consistently, and they're great for weight loss too because when you get rid of all these toxins,
yeah, of course,
you start losing weight. I was probably had done the foot bath for 3 months in a row, super consistently. I was even doing 3 or 4 a day because I was really just trying to accelerate my weight loss. And so I left. I went to Los Angeles for a month and came back. So I hadn't done any foot baths. And then the water had been fairly clear. Like as I had just, got rid of a lot of toxins.
Which is sort of a good little assessment in and of itself in terms of where your toxicity is, right?
Yeah, so I go to LA, I retox, I come back and the water was black. It was black for a week, really.
That is so crazy.
Yes, I was really shocked by that.
But what a cool evening routine. I think, we talk so much about sleep and how important it is and having a routine. I feel like doing that at night before you go to bed could be a really nice, like, entry into sleep. And it's like a good replacement behavior from just that glass of wine at night.
Yeah. And you can do it while you're watching TV. You can do it while you're working. It doesn't have to take up any extra time in your day.
Right. Yep. Awesome. What else?
Yes. Okay. Yeah. So there's ionic foot bath. Those are basically the main protocols I recommend to people, but also liver care because there's 100 million people in the United States alone that have non-alcoholic fatty liver disease.
I know. I mean, so many of my clients, it is unbelievable.
Yes,
And they're not alcoholics.
yeah, and so you're
They're
going to have
non-alcoholic.
yeah, so you have fatty liver, essentially, just fatty deposits in your liver that interfere in its function. And so you don't want that. You want your liver functioning to detox you, to digest your food, because if you don't digest your food properly and absorb it, you're going to be constantly craving food because your liver can't do its job. And also, it needs to metabolize your hormones. Your hormones are out of balance. You're not going to sleep well. You're going to be moody, craving food, on and on and on.
What about the coffee is so detoxifying?
Yes. So what it does is it's got palmitic acid and it's got the caffeine. When you put that in your rectum, you stimulate the portal vein and that goes up the portal vein, the caffeine, and it irritates the liver. It has like a hormetic effect and it dilates all the capillaries. And that ends up purging the liver. It will purge the bile into the intestines, and the bile holds a lot of different toxins. It'll irritate the gallbladder and that stimulate the gallbladder that holds bile. It's like a little sac that holds bile. And so you just kind of purge the liver of whatever it has in it. They're an incredible way to detox your body, to promote liver health, and just get your body working better overall. And I think once people start doing them, they definitely don't look back. They want to keep doing them.
That's what I hear.
But I
feel like you got to get through that first time, that first step. I bought all the stuff, Wendy. I literally bought. My friend was like, I will FaceTime you. We'll do it together. I bought all the stuff, and then I didn't do it.
Yeah, I've definitely held people's hands through doing it for sure. But it's once you start them, you realize how much better you feel when you're doing them and how terrible you feel when you don't do them.
Wow.
Yeah, you notice a big, big, big difference. Like, so I had a period of 2 months where I'd stopped doing them. I got blackheads all over my skin. And as soon as I started the coffee enema again, everything disappeared. Because whatever your body isn't able to detox, well, it'll start coming out through your skin. And people have all kinds of toxic deposits in their skin. The sauna helps with that as well. But the sauna really decongests the skin. But
so if we're going step by step,
yeah, step by step.
Sauna, ionic foot bath, and then you can take your try at the coffee enema.
Yeah, you just incorporate what you have the time and energy and incentive to do. But the more you do, the more payoff you have. I'm 53. I feel better than I have ever felt. I feel way better than I felt in my 30s and my 20s even. And it's just 15 years of dedicated detoxification.
And it goes to your why, because there's no way, like if we're committed to doing this stuff, and those people that want to do, like, the do a coffee enema, for example, like, to me, weight loss in and of itself is a drive around what other people kind of think of us, or our feelings of our own kind of, I talk all the time about our own self-worth and things like that, being in what we look like. But if we really recognize how we are all like here for a purpose and want to stay alive and living for as long as possible, these things are like, it keeps us sustaining them, right? It keeps us consistent because the why is so much deeper. And so I think we just have to kind of remember that kind of stuff and know that these are pieces of the puzzle that we all need to understand.
Yeah. And it sounds like a lot, but once you start incorporating this stuff, like, you want to do it. Like, I look forward to doing my liver flushing, and I look forward to doing my infrared sauna, and the ionic foot bath's really, really easy, but it pays dividends. It absolutely does, because heavy metals are one of the number one roadblocks to people's health, and that they're not getting these answers at their doctor. And most functional medical doctors aren't looking at this either as an underlying root cause to symptoms.
Isn't that so interesting?
Yeah.
Now, and I think that if we actually really look at like time, and I do a lot of time management stuff with my clients, because that's like the number one thing, right? I don't have time to do this. But when we really are intentional about our time, and we're not robots, but intentional, and we find ways that we can incorporate this into our everyday living and be honest about the things that we are doing that actually aren't moving us forward at all.
Yeah.
Binge watching shows, or, scrolling on our phone, where we can be doing some other things a little more intentionally. personally
Yeah, I
that are
scroll in the
self-care.
sauna. I
Scroll in the
scroll.
sauna.
Like,
I go live every morning on Instagram from my sauna for my morning time because it works out really well. If I'm going to be in there anyway, I'll go. That's how I can show up live. For
yeah,
everyone.
I'm not scrolling unless I'm doing something else for my health. Like I'm sitting, in my bioenergetic software, I'm doing a coffee enema, or I'm going to be doing some, multitasking. So I don't scroll just to scroll. I have to be doing something else.
I think that's really great advice because then you get a 2-for-1 there. So when clients come to you, how are you working with them? Are you assessing? Are you helping them with these protocols? Tell us exactly what you do with clients on a regular basis.
Yeah, so I will do a hair mineral analysis on them, absolutely, because you want to get a baseline of, just check in what your toxin levels are, and then every 6 months to a year, you can just you want to gauge what you're doing is working or course correct, and you look at what heavy metals you have. You can take specific supplements to detox those heavy metals. So I'll design a customized supplement protocol for my clients, and then just hold their hand, asking them lots of questions, doing like a supplement audit, what's worth it to take, what's kind of a waste of their time, or usually people need to take better forms of what they're taking for it to be more effective. There's lots of garbage supplements out there, and just hold their hand to on their detox program and answer all of their questions and things like that.
I love that. I love that. So where can people find you, learn more about your work? Because it's fascinating. I love that we can go right to your website and find research. So tell us all where it is.
Yes, you can go on myersdetox.com. Any spelling will get you there. You can find me.
Hey, that's smart. Nice job.
Yes, yeah. So you can find me on Myers Detox on all the social media and on YouTube at Wendy Myers. So I have tons of free content. I have over almost 650 podcasts at this point. I've been doing the podcast for 14 years, and
Wow.
1,000 articles on my website. All of that free if you want to just dig right in.
I love that. And when people have been doing this for a long time and have been able to not just have the experience, but also have the time to be able to put that kind of stuff on your site, it's just such a value add for everyone. So I'm so excited that you were here. You opened my eyes. I know you opened my listeners' eyes. So go check out Wendy, go follow her, listen to her podcast. I was a guest on her podcast too. So that's kind of fun as well.
Yeah, I have a quiz. I have a quiz also. You can go to heavymetalsquiz.com and you can see how
great.
toxic you are, and then get a little bit more info on how to move forward and what to do next.
Got it. We'll put all this into the show notes, and we're so excited to be able to have this. Thank you so much for enlightening us and for sharing with us. And I'm so glad you're part of our community.
Right, thanks for having me.
All right.